With consoles becoming more and more expensive lately, suddenly the PS4 is the best deal in gaming, considering that you can get a PS4 Slim with controller for like $72 US on your used marketplace, and the PS4 still has a very relevant library, supporting major titles like Cyberpunk 2077, Marvel Spider-Man, Jedi Survivor, and of course esports titles like Marvel Rivals, Fortnite, Apex Legends, and my favorite, Rocket League. And because it's last gen, games don't cost that much, so you can build out a pretty full library for fairly cheap, like we're talking maybe $10 a game, if not $5 if you look in the right spots. And that's why today we're going to jailbreak our PS4 and then take a dive into all the cool things we can do with a jailbroken PS4, which is a lot. Real quick, if you're new here, hey, I'm Coulter, and on this channel we cover console mods, handheld gaming, coding, weird DIY stuff, so if that sounds like you, be sure to subscribe below so you can catch future uploads. So as you may be aware, when it comes to PS4 exploits, your firmware version is very critical. And right off the top, as far as I'm aware, if you've updated to, I think, 13.02, which is the latest firmware, unfortunately there's not much you can do with regards to exploits right now, aside from enjoy your PS4 and the fact that you can play games online because you have the latest firmware. More on that in a second. But don't lose hope, because 2025 was the year of exploiting things we didn't think could be exploited, such as all the cool stuff we saw with the Xbox 360 bad update exploit. So I'm pretty sure the community is gonna keep at it with the PS4. Regardless of your firmware version, the first thing I recommend doing is going to the link in the description, which is the consolemods.org PS4 Jailbreak guide. And depending on when you're watching this video, it may have more accurate information about the best exploit for your PS4 firmware. But to speed things up, here's the rapid fire best exploits for various firmware versions. Versions 5.05 to I think version 9 are considered the golden firmwares, because you can exploit those with either just a browser or a browser plus a USB drive, which is pretty sick. Versions 9.03 to 11 require a little bit more work, but are definitely doable, and they use the Ethernet method, where you have a PC or Raspberry Pi or something to push the exploit over Ethernet. And then versions 11.02 to 12.52 have a new exploit that came out in 2025 that uses the Blu-ray drive and a specifically burned Blu-ray disc to run an exploit, which I've heard can be a little bit finicky, but these things tend to improve over time, and it's awesome we have an option for those higher firmwares. In my case, this PS4 Slim was given to me for free by an old employer who had their kids' video games sitting in a bin, and they said, "Do you want this stuff?" And I said yes as fast as humanly possible. And in that bin was a PS4 Slim and a 360 and a Wii and some games, and I was like, thank you so much, Merry Christmas to me, you can skip the Christmas bonus. Okay, that company didn't do Christmas bonuses. But thankfully his kids had not touched this PS4 since they'd long moved out, because when I fired it up yesterday, it was on firmware 8.0. Chef's kiss, that is fantastic. After a bit of research, it looked like version 9.0 might be a little more solid to work with, and so I manually updated to version 9.0 by simply putting those firmware files on an exFAT formatted USB drive in the folder structure shown here. And with the PS4 disconnected from internet, I just went to software update, it saw the USB, and upgraded me to version 9.0, which was sick. Which brings us to preparation of the console. So before we start the exploit, a few things we should change in the settings. First is to disable automatic updates and to disable internet while in standby mode. Both of those could cause the PS4 to try and pull down updates automatically, and we do not want that. We want to choose our firmware version and keep it, because if we rocket to the moon to the very latest firmware update, then we'll almost surely break our exploit, and that's no fun. So those settings are in Settings, System, Automatic Downloads, and Settings, Power Save Settings, and then it's like what's allowed during rest mode kind of thing. Also, hot tip, if you ever want to use a capture card with your PS4 or something like that, you'll need to uncheck Enable HDCP from the system settings, because that is the content protection setting that does not like capture cards. And so if you turn that off, all of a sudden your capture card works, and your 15 minutes of troubleshooting will come to an end. Moving on to the actual exploit process, because my PS4 is on version 9, I'll be covering that exploit process, but if you want more details about the PS4 exploit process using the Ethernet method or the Blu-ray disc method, let me know in the comments and maybe I can try and track down a PS4 of that kind. So for the PS4 9.0 exploit, we'll need to create a special USB drive that will help inject some final files during the exploit. And to do that, we just need to go to the GitHub linked in the description and grab the exfathacks.img file. You'll then burn that to a USB using either Balena Etcher or Rufus, and that's all you have to do. The USB is ready to go. Back over on the PS4, we'll then open up the web browser, and then you have a couple of domain options as far as hosts for the exploit files. I went with the domain caro218.ir, partly because it's shorter than nightkinghost.com. cool domain. But once you're on that page, you should see a whole bunch of exploit options. And since I'm on firmware 9.0 and the objective is to install Goldhen, not Linux or something, more on that later, I chose Goldhen 900. Now from this point, maybe you're a little better at this, but in my experience, you're gonna get a lot of pop-ups. You're just gonna keep clicking OK and keep refreshing the page. And it's gonna kind of keep trying to get that memory buffer overflow exploit. I'm pretty sure it's what it's doing, hence why it's filling the memory and warning you about it. But after a few cycles of spamming that OK button and letting it try again and try again, it should eventually make it to an exploit success message and then present you to insert the USB key. Then you insert your USB into one of the USB ports and wait for the PlayStation notification to pop up in the top left saying that that USB drive is unsupported. Once you see that notification, that means that the USB is being read by the system. You can hit OK on that pop-up about inserting the USB, and it'll then say the exploit is successful and complete. Then you remove the USB, press OK, and then you'll see that glorious little Goldhen notification in the top left, confirming that the exploit is in place, which is awesome. And now that raises two questions. What is Goldhen, and what should I do with it? Before we continue, big shout out to boot.dev for sponsoring this video. If you're a developer looking to level up your skills, but get so bored with traditional courses or bland tutorials, or maybe you're looking to start your development journey for the first time, either way, you should definitely check out boot.dev. It gamifies the whole process, so it's actually fun, and you hardly realize how fast you're learning new things. Recently, I've been taking the Programming in Go course because I've been wanting to learn it for a long time, and I absolutely love the Go language when I'm learning about it. They also well cover topics like Python, Kubernetes, Docker, TypeScript, SQL, all building toward a solid backend developer's resume. And if you don't know, backend devs definitely command one of the higher ends of the dev salary spectrum, so it's a pretty good goal to aim for. And best of all, the tutorials are actually fun and addicting. Like, I blinked and didn't realize that I'd already marched through like a good quarter of the Go course, so that's cool. And if you get stuck or just struggling with a certain problem set, you have a handy AI companion named Boots that will help get you unstuck so that you can learn what went wrong and what you can improve in the future. Boot.dev even just launched a cool thing called Training Grounds, where it will assess where you are in your coursework and then generate infinite challenges, so that way you can really make sure that your skills are sharpened, which is especially useful for staying sharp for those pesky coding assessment questions and interviews. And to top it all off, the instructors are top-notch. Like, the Primogen teaches a crazy course where you code a custom HTTP 1.1 server from scratch using just Go, which is crazy. So if you want to level up your dev skills and enjoy the dopamine of gaining XP as you do so, check out the link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen. And if you use promo code Coulter, you'll get 25% off your first payment at boot.dev. And thanks again, boot.dev, for sponsoring this video. Now, one important thing about Goldhen and the PS4 jailbreaking scene in general that I maybe should have mentioned earlier, but it is not a permanent exploit. It is a semi-tethered exploit, meaning that if you completely power down your PS4 and boot it back up, you'll have to rerun that exploit process we just did to get Goldhen to show up and to make your installed packages usable again. This is very similar to how the bad update exploit works on the Xbox 360 that came out recently, where you run the bad update exploit using something like Rock Band Blitz, or the more recent version where it just runs at startup with the avatar selector, which is awesome. And then the 360 is exploited for the duration of use until you power it down. I'll link that video in the description, by the way, if you want to check out more about the 360 exploit. But thankfully, Goldhen has a nice little feature where it supports keeping your PS4 in an exploited state while it's in rest mode, which means that as long as your PS4 only goes down to rest mode when you turn it off, it doesn't actually power all the way down, and you don't unplug it from the wall or lose power, then when you come back to your PS4, it should be waiting for you in a still exploited state, which is super nice. Now that I know what Goldhen is, the first thing I'd recommend doing, at least my personal favorite thing to do first, is to install some sort of homebrew store so that you don't have to hunt down 100 GitHub pages and grab a bunch of package files and put them on a USB and install them one by one. I like to have a nice pretty store just to start installing things with a GUI right from the console. And conveniently, the way to install the homebrew store for the PS4 is once you're in that exploited state, you just open up the web browser again and go to pkg-zone.com/install, and it'll guide you through the rest of the process. And at the end of it, you'll have the homebrew store sitting on your home screen, ready to rock, which is sweet. And now that we have a convenient way to install homebrew, let's talk about some of the most recommended homebrew for your now exploited PS4. Right out of the gate, there are tons of really cool homebrew games and projects and ports, like the Sonic SMS port, which is honestly way better than it should be, given it's a port of an SMS game. Shout out to my man Ray, by the way. And then of course there are things like system management essentials, like the Apollo Save tool, super useful for moving save files off of or onto your PS4 or your USB drive, which you can also use to activate an offline account if you need that for certain games, especially if you're not logged into PSN. PS4 Explorer 2.0, super handy for moving files around or installing package files directly off your USB drive. And things like PS4 Temperature or PS4 Toolset, which will give you overlays so you can actually actually monitor the temperature and CPU and GPU utilization of your PS4, making it feel much more gaming PC-like than console. In the game launchers and loaders category, we have things like items flow, which is a super nice replacement front end that'll give you a very pretty view of all the games and apps installed on your PS4 and let you do cool things like dump your physical PS4 games to the disk so that you can load them up faster, which is super cool. The app Game2 is a game loader, which lets you very easily download various games and apps from its repositories. And conveniently, I saw a number of PS2 games and PS4 games that I own for other platforms, or I just own discs of, but it's a super handy way to grab backups of those games you own. You know, all of our Linux ISOs. And also in the game loader category is Remote Package Installer, which is a super handy way to install packages directly off of your computer so they don't have to load them onto a USB and then over to the console, which given that some packages can be 60 gigs is quite handy. In the cheats, mods, and performance category of Homebrew, we have things like PS4 Cheat Manager, which obviously you can use to apply patches or cheats or changes to games, but very handily, you can also patch games like Red Dead Redemption 2 or Bloodborne to be 60 FPS and not locked at 30 FPS. So thank you to the community for making that happen. And like I mentioned earlier, Goldhen comes out of the box with a cheats overlay as well, so you can access those without having to open a separate app, which is super cool. And then of course, the very important and much beloved category of emulation and retro gaming. Right off the top, the big kahuna of retro gaming wonder is RetroArch. Yes, there is RetroArch available for the modded PS4, which is sweet. I believe on the PS4, you're looking at playing up to SNES N64 kind of level gaming, but hey, any emulation that a console that's not supposed to allow emulation is nice. I did have to do a bit of configuration to get my RetroArch setup working properly, using the separate cores downloader, and then creating playlists manually so that it would pick up the correct core for a game, and then checking this setting to make sure that the game didn't play at rapid speed. So if you want a more deep dive into how to properly set up your RetroArch and get it looking like mine, let me know in the comments and maybe I'll make a separate video about that. On top of RetroArch, of course, this is a PlayStation, and thankfully we can indeed play PS1 and PS2 games quite well. It just takes a bit of prep to either convert your bin.q files or your ISO files into installable package files, but I've heard the compatibility is quite good and you get to play them with upscaled graphics, which is super sick. And the last category of Homebrew we'll cover is streaming. And yes, you can install the YouTube app, which is the latest version of the YouTube interface as far as I can tell, which is super cool, as well as apps for things like Jellyfin and I think Plex. So it's arguable that a jailbroken PS4 is more useful than the now defunct Chromecast in 2026. So thank you, dev community, for that. Now, speaking of things that talk to the internet though, it should be said that once you've exploited your PS4, especially after you've installed unsigned package files on it, you should avoid going online with your PSN account. And that's because Sony can detect the presence of unsigned package files and either ban your PSN account or your console ID or both. And so ideally, you're gonna use only offline accounts and focus on enjoying the plethora of offline games and apps that the exploited PS4 provides. You won't really have to worry about resisting the temptation to play things like esports online, because to play esports titles and other games like that online, it requires that you have your PS4 firmware up to the latest version, which would then break your exploits. So if you want to be able to play online with your PS4 and then also have an exploited PS4, that's basically just a 2 PS4 scenario. But for how cheap you can find them, that's still weirdly way cheaper than buying like an Xbox or a PS5 or a stick of RAM. What is current year? And in case you're trying to be smart like me and think, aha, it's a semi-tethered exploit, so I'll just do a full reset and then Goldhen's not running and then I can do things online and use my PSN account, right? Wrong, because if Sony wants to, they can still, like I said, detect the presence of an unsigned package file on your system and be like, ah, this guy's been up to some stuff, even if he's not currently up to stuff, and they could still take action. So if you want to really be safe, I would recommend having your exploited PS4 and then your squeaky clean PS4 if you want that kind of setup. There is, however, one exception to playing online with an exploited PS4, and that's a PS LAN setup, where for games that have a local LAN function, you can actually simulate a local LAN party over the internet and play with people wherever you want in the world while making the game think that you're all in the same house. It's a pretty niche setup, but it's nice that it's available, and I think games like Modern Warfare 3 and other games like that support it. If that's your jam, then maybe it's worth a look. There's actually a lot more that I could dive into about the PS4 modding scene. Like, you can even install full-on Linux distros on this thing, and then with that installed Steam and use it like a full-on computer. So if that's something you want to see a deep dive on, let me know in the comments, maybe a little penguin Linux emoji, because not gonna lie, I've wanted to try that for a while. But the purpose of this video was how to jailbreak the PS4, so I'll end it there for now, but let me know in the comments what your preferred firmware and exploit version are, and also if I missed anything, either in a more ideal exploit flow or your favorite homebrew apps. I'm still relatively new to the PS4 exploit scene, and I love learning more about this this stuff, so definitely feel free to teach me stuff in the comments. And if you watched this whole video, go ahead and leave a controller emoji in the comments so I know if you're liking these console exploit style videos. And like I mentioned, you'll probably be interested in the most recent video I did about the Xbox 360 bad update exploit, which got way smoother to use in recent months. So check that out, and I'll see you in the next one.